You're listening to Around Comics. 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 You're listening to Around Comics.
From Chicago, this is Around Comics, the comic culture podcast where we talk about everything in and around the world of comics and comics culture. And I'm your host, Christopher Niesman, and I'm joined as always by my partner in crime, Mr. Brian Salazar.
I am just so excited to be here today, my friend. It is, I'm having fun. I am having more fun during quarantine than I probably should be. This shouldn't be legal.
We've
honestly
gone through the COVID-19 tunnel, and we're coming out on the right side of life.
That's Governor Pritzker today announced some sort of reopening plan in Illinois. I haven't read about it yet, but I'm sure people will complain. But you know what? I don't care because I got a Facebook message from a legendary comic book creator today, one of my all-time favorite auteurs of comics. I'm not going to say who.
Stan Lee
messaged me on Facebook and said, I'd like to come on the podcast. I know I've been dead for a while, but
Excelsior.
No, it was not Stan Lee, but it was someone that I have been wanting to get on the podcast for a long time, and we will in the near future have this great man on the podcast to talk all sorts of stuff, and I will probably geek out and be a complete fucking nerd about it because I'm gonna turn into
I'm excited to have Will Eisner on the show.
Will Eisner. I can't do a Will Eisner. Well, I guess I can. Does anybody know what Will Eisner sounds like? He could sound like he was a New Yorker, so he just
He's a New Yorker. Yeah,
he sounds like that. I could do a Will Eisner.
Just say gabagool.
Gabagool, hey, hey, I just do
Hey, oh, hey,
Dice
the spirit.
Clay,
Hey.
hey, read the fucking spirit, huh? What the fuck?
So we do have we're waiting on Tom. Tom should be here. We
Tom
also
should
have a
be
special guest tonight.
We are.
But Sal and I were just so jazzed to talk about comics.
Yes.
That we decided to get the train rolling a little soon. And we'll have them join in a little bit later. But Sal, your enthusiasm, it is infectious.
Good.
Please infect me with the comics that you have been reading.
Oh my goodness. I've been, I have spent this time in quarantine as productively as possible. I've been building things and organizing things and like getting my comics all put together in my basement here. Just like I've been drawing again. I've been doing all sorts of. I have not been this.
Renaissance man is back.
I am all about comics again. I'm like all around comics all the time. I'm so excited about comics again. But what have I been reading? I can't even think about what let's see. I've been reading Alex Toth's Creepy. Let me.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, I've been reading. This. Here we go. Right. We got this. So you turned me on to the Marvel Treasury editions.
Isn't that a fun book?
Yeah. This is a lot of fun. This is Marvel history of the Marvel universe, and it's like
basically just Mark Waid's notes from the last 40 years.
kind of thrown into a story, but really the shining star of this is the art. The art by Javier Rodriguez is really terrific, and Alvaro Lopez did the inks. It's really just like this amazing journey through Marvel history, and they do such a great job.
Kind of from the perspective of Franklin Richards, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, that was an interesting. It starts off with Franklin Richards and Galactus. Basically
at the end of time.
At the end of time, and Franklin Richards is like, we're gonna come through this. We're the only ones that are gonna, or I'm the only one that's gonna come through this for whatever reason. And I want to know. I want to try and remember everything. So tell me tell me the entire history of
Tell me your story.
Yeah, and so Galactus goes into telling the entire story. I love in the beginning here this page in particular where he uses Galactus's helmet design as sort of a page layout, and yet Franklin is sort of standing on it and standing on his shoulders. So cool, such a good use.
I thought it was cool that Galactus kind of takes over the role of Uatu.
A little bit, yeah, absolutely. He's seen everything. Although he almost does it in a way that Uatu was supposed to. You know what I mean? Like Uatu was supposed to be the cold, uncaring watcher, and yet he never quite could. That's why we loved him, because he always had to meddle in the Marvel Universe because he just couldn't help himself. Where Galactus at this point doesn't give a shit. He knows it's all over. So he's just sort of coldly.
It's the death of a universe and the dawn of the next one.
Yeah,
and Franklin carries on. But yeah, so it's a neat little premise to set up this is how this is the story of this universe.
And it's just a great format. This oversized format. Really, they
Look
used
what I
it
got
well.
in the mail.
Oh, very nice, very nice, beautiful. Really? Was that a tax write-off? Is that why?
No, but we shared some very special moments the other night.
Yes.
This is the treasury-sized edition of the Roy Thomas, Neal Adams X-Men that we just did a Comics 101 on. This double-page spread. I mean, that's worth it right there. Look at that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Awesome. Wow.
Yeah,
I might have to order that.
Big and we had talked about how I preferred the newsprint Neal Adams to the like glossy reproductions, and I'm still going to stand by that. I would still prefer this to have been on kind of a toothy newsprinty stock,
right?
But they did a really nice job of reproducing this. And anyone who has read the Neal Adams hardcover reprints of all his Batman stuff knows how different, I'll say, the coloring is on that. The colors in this are pretty true to the originals, and even though it is on a semi-gloss stock, it looks really nice.
Well, that brings up an interesting when we had Jim Rugg on, I obviously talked about how I like their podcast so much, the Cartoonist Kayfabe, and how it's cost me a lot of money. I have this. I'll grab it right here. One of their recent podcasts or shows. I keep calling it a podcast, but I guess it's not really a podcast. They did Absolute Year One.
Oh, Jesus.
And if I'm, obviously stealing everything I'm going to talk about this, go watch theirs. They did a great job of like going through it and telling, and you're going to want to buy it by the time fair warning. If you watch their show,
you're going to buy it.
You're going to buy it. But one of the interesting things about this is it's 2 volumes, and
so you've got the 6 issues, right?
Right, but wait. This is the interesting thing. One volume is all new, sort of recolored edition of Year One. So it's actually the other one. Sorry, this one. So this is the recolored. No, that's not it. I'm sorry. I was right. Tom's joined us. Here's Tom.
Okay.
But so this is the recolored version. Okay, so it's all new, very clean, very nicely recolored edition of Batman Year One, and it's just the straight issues. Nothing. I don't think there's any. At the end, there's some stuff. There's some really cool early stuff by Mazzucchelli, and he talks about like how he fell in love with Batman, and he does a strip, like a Batman strip. Really cool stuff. But then you have the second volume, which is reprinted like on pulp, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's like grainy and yellow, and I just
want that.
It looks like the scans because I had the original issues.
I just want that.
Oh, it's so cool. It's so interesting in like an oversized edition. But then there's like all sorts
Sorry,
of...
Tom, you caught us climaxing with the absolute Batman Year One.
And then there's a bunch of like
great.
process
That's what I
stuff.
came here for.
This is what Tom's here for.
Yeah,
There's a bunch of process stuff in the back of this volume. So it is, if you're a Batman Year One, a Mazzucchelli fan, those guys were absolutely 100% correct.
That's like the only Frank Miller Batman that I would say people buy it not because Frank Miller. It's because
of Mazzucchelli. Yeah. No, agreed. But this is a really cool, very, very cool. I'm just gonna
another $100 out of my pocket. Thanks.
Hey,
dude.
I got it on in stock trades for less than.
Oh, foreshadowing. Thomas,
hey, what's up?
how are you doing, buddy?
I'm good.
I
Go at this time, my basement was slowly filling with water.
Nice. Is your mic on? I can hardly
Yes.
hear you,
yeah,
sir.
you're a little quiet, Tom.
Come to the light.
Better? Worse? Better?
No change. No difference whatsoever.
Podcasting in action.
How's
Here's-
There you go.
There you go. Hi, Tom.
Hey, what's up?
I miss you. You've been dealing with floods and
Yeah.
children, and
Pestilence. And
I hear the locusts are coming. So I tell you, Sal was talking about what he was reading. We haven't heard from you in a while, and so why don't you take the floor, and let us know what's going on in the life of Tom Caters.
I've been reading
How to bail out your basement.
How to bail out your basement. I've been reading graphic novels with my son, who's really gotten into Dog Man,
Nice.
which
Very
is
nice.
done by the. I gotta look at the guy's name. It's the same guy who came up with Captain Underpants.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll look it up. Don't worry. You keep going.
Dav Pilkey.
Dav Pilkey.
Dav
Yes.
Pilkey. So we bought it from the Scholastic Book Fair, and my son has become obsessed over the course
With
of
Dog Man.
With Dog Man, just like he read the first one cover to cover, like in an hour and a half. He just like quietly. If you know my son, you know how rare it is that he's like quiet for like an hour, like doesn't ask for anything or doesn't like.
I was
whine.
like, please make more Dog Man.
Yeah, I was like, how many of these can I order now? And just like, so I ordered a bunch, but I'm only gonna like give them out occasionally. You know, I'm not gonna drop like 10 books on them at once.
Yeah.
You withhold the
Rat
Dog
them.
Man.
Yeah, but it's
Ecstasy.
good. I can see why he loves it because I was like flipping through it and I read the first couple chapters today with him, and I was like, yeah, this is good. I get why kids like this. Yeah, this is
Now
the good stuff, right?
is he a Dog Man purist, or is he also a Captain Underpants?
He doesn't. He's
not aware.
kind of knows that Captain Underpants exists, so he'll probably once he runs out of Dog Man, like want to expand into that.
He can't get any
But,
Dog Man fix. He's gonna need some.
He's gonna have to go to Captain Underpants. It was really
Well,
good.
heroin is next after that.
I was like, this is great. I
Gateway
get why kids. I get why he loves it. It's like really well. It's like fun, right? Like all the drawing is very like loose and fun, and it's funny. It's like actually funny. Like there's Dog Man has a robot helper named ADHD. The number 8. Like, yeah, that's funny.
That's very
Like,
clever.
Yeah, it's extremely clever. You know, it's basically a police officer and his dog were hurt in an explosion, and the dog's body was dying, and the cop's head died.
Oh
so
my.
they took the dog head and put it on the cop, and that's how
science.
That's science. That's how it works. The whole origin story in 2 panels. It's great.
It used to be. I remember when the Batman origin, 1 page.
It's
One
just simple.
page.
I was like, oh wow, this is great. I get why he does lots of really fun tricks in it of like laying out certain pages where, like, if you flip them back and forth, they look like they're animated, of like Dogman eating. So if you just take one page and go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, it looks like he's like putting cereal in his mouth. And it's just like, it's tons of awesome, like, inventive ways of using the medium, which
I have a glass just for you.
Nice.
It's from Mexican Heritage Night at Miller Park. This
Cerveceros.
It's the Milwaukee Cervezos class. It's one of my favorites.
You got the skull head.
Yep.
So that's, and he also has started watching Star Wars this week.
That's right. You guys watched Empire.
Sorry, yeah.
How did he like Empire? That was everyone wants to know the Vader "I am your father" moment.
Oh,
spoilers.
He kind of already knew that. Like, okay. I just think it's like part of
pop culture.
Yeah, or like other kids have seen it. Like, what did surprise him?
How old is your son?
He's 6, turning 7.
So like 6-year-olds out on the playground going, dude.
They watch Star Wars. They've got like Star Wars action figures. Like, it doesn't take that long before like it's like, actually no, he's Luke's father. Like, so he kind of already knew that, but what he didn't know was that Vader kills the Emperor in Return of the Jedi. So that like legitimately surprised him, because he was like, "What?" Like, nice, so nice. the Vader being his dad, not a surprise.
Killing the Emperor, definite.
Yeah, definite surprise for him. Oh, he loved it. He was great. He loves all those. We watched the first 3. He just was, again, quiet for the entire time it was on, except for when he laughed out loud at the Ewoks, because he loved the Ewoks so much.
That was the thing.
Loved it.
Me and my kids and my wife watched all of the Star Wars movies in chronological order.
Yeah.
All 9?
Whatever it is. Plus, is it 9? No, it's more than that.
9 now.
Because Solo, we watched Solo and Rogue One.
Oh, so 11.
11. We watched all 11 movies, start to finish. And my wife watched them with us, which I don't think she's ever seen any of them other than maybe the original 3.
Okay.
And
what did Kim think?
She was into it. She liked it. She liked it. She was the entire time just waiting for the Ewoks. That's all she cared about was Ewoks. And my kids love Jar Jar Binks. And
I know Joe's gonna love. He's gonna love Jar Jar Binks. I know it, and I know it's happening.
You can't. It's like, okay, happening. This is not a movie for me. This is a movie for kids. These are movies for kids. But I will say this: like, I actually enjoyed the entire saga more so after watching them all in order in like a 2.5 week period. Yeah. I actually like went back and like, oh, the prequels weren't as bad as I thought they were. I mean, they weren't great, and they're really cringy parts of it. But as a like narrative that he was trying to tell, I kind of got it. But yeah,
it stitches the story together. And we've talked about it. You add the Clone Wars animated series and Rebels into that, and honestly, we talked to Charles Soule last week. You add the Vader comics and some of the other stuff in there, and it just deepens that. And so there's you can drill down as far as you want to.
So yeah, now my son's just obsessed with Dogman and Star Wars.
Has your kid
smell crossover?
Yeah.
Has your son seen a Diary of a Wimpy Kid stuff yet? Because that's my son was a big fan of those books.
Not yet. I assume it will.
That might be a junior high or like later in grade school kind of thing.
Dogman's just right for him. It's just like a little above him, so like he.
That's always good.
Yeah, so he's like, oh, this is like a book for, second graders. I'm a first grader, you know, so that always carries a lot of mileage with the kids. But yeah, it's fun to watch Star Wars with someone who hasn't seen it before, because he was so excited about everything in it, and I was like, George Lucas, you're a genius. There's always gonna be 6-year-old boys who are gonna be like,
well, that's the thing. It's like that's what, like, I felt I forgot. Like, oh, I loved these movies when I was a kid, and then by the time I was in my 30s, I was critical of them, forgetting the fact that, oh yeah, these were about being a kid. Like, this wasn't for fucking 30-year-old assholes like me who thought everything should
30?
be made. Well, no, at the time, like, the prequels came out. When did the prequels come out? I was like in my 30s, right?
so.
Maybe?
Next, we have a date set up to watch The Phantom Menace on Friday. Friday's the day we'll watch it.
Nice.
Yeah, I went by release order. So I was like, he's a little young, so I was like, oh man, I don't want to explain everything. Like, I feel like Phantom Menace is kind of like,
Dad, what's a trade war?
later.
What?
I was like, just watch the first three are so easy to understand. There will be no problem. There wasn't any. Totally understood everything that was happening. It'll be weird on Friday, but I'm just like, it doesn't matter. Don't.
Dad, why do those guys sound like they're from a kung fu movie from the 70s?
Yeah. Why does everyone have sort of caricature-esque accents?
Spooky day.
Oh no, that's no reason. It's
Wait.
totally normal. It's fine.
So she's a princess and a senator and not, and there's a clone. Wait.
The hardest thing he'll be is I'll have to keep reminding him that this happened before the other movies, because I was like, he's like, I want to watch the movies about how he became Darth Vader, and I was like, okay, we can watch those, but they happened before, right? He's like, what do you mean before? I'm like, they came out later. Like, he just doesn't.
Yeah, no, don't do that. Just
it's like, just watch it. They came out later. They happened before, and Jar Jar Binks, he's gonna. I mean, I can already foresee
he's gonna love him. He's gonna love Jar Jar.
Fucking laugh out loud. He's just gonna like lose his shit, because he was watching the Ewoks and was just like rolling around on the couch because he thought it was like the funniest. Like this scene where that wicked
were you like
thing and he hits himself with it was like the funniest thing my son has ever seen in his life.
Were you like gritting your teeth going, no, that's not comedy?
That's fine. I thought it was great because he was the worst thing would have been him being like, this movie's boring.
Christina, help us explain.
Hey, there she is.
Help us explain how to explain to a 6-year-old the prequels of Star Wars, but that they came out after.
How do we explain trade wars and tariffs to a 6-year-old child?
Intergalactic trade wars to a 6-year-old.
It's robots now.
I don't count anything past the prequels, so
you've not watched any?
No, I don't like any of them. I watched one of them and I thought the acting was so bad in them that I just said, yeah, I'm not watching any of them.
30 seconds in and she's already being divisive.
Yeah, right.
See what we're in for.
But I'm the one who got to see the prequels in the theater, so like that's how old I am, right? So
wait, are you saying the prequels or the original?
I'm sorry, the originals.
The originals.
The originals, yeah.
Well, I think, other than maybe Tom. Tom's the youngest. But I saw him in the theater. Did you?
You're doing a terrible job of explaining this to a 6-year-old.
It's fine.
Yeah, I honestly, luckily I don't have to worry about that anymore. All of my kids are so old that, I don't have to do that. So
I
I'll
need
have to worry about grandchildren eventually, I guess.
I need to introduce you. So our guest has arrived. We've been waiting expectantly. Old friend of the show. Not only just old friend, but probably the person that sponsored every comic book podcast on the face of the earth for about a decade.
Yep.
That's an accurate statement.
That
Christina Merkler, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Good. It's good to see
Long time
you.
no talk. Yeah.
It's been a while.
Crazy. Yeah.
Are you in Indiana?
I am in Indiana. Yes. And my air conditioning's broken, which is why and it's a brand new house. So I don't know what's going on. So I have to call my builder tomorrow and figure out why it's 79 degrees in my house right now. So I've been trying to deal with that and figure it out. But, you know.
Well, thank you for taking time out of that travesty.
So that's my face. That's why my face is especially red right now. Yeah.
It's a little warm.
And the
there.
peanut butter whiskey my sister just gave me.
Hey,
Oh,
all
that
right.
stuff is delicious.
It is. It's not right. It's a little too sweet for me, though. I'm like a normal, regular bourbon drinker or gin drinker. So
There you
yeah.
go. Well, Andy Parks was on about a month ago, and that was his little dessert drink was the peanut butter whiskey.
That is definitely a dessert drink. Yes.
Absolutely.
It's the hillbilly port.
You are. Since we have last talked, which probably I want to say, I mean, it's been a day or two because we took a little break from the show.
Well, I talked to her. I mean, you guys abandoned her.
Oh, is that it?
I talked to her. I had her on a couple years ago. Well, you know, you guys were taking a break.
Whatever that thing was.
That abomination of a podcast.
I liked it. My son-in-law liked it.
Oh, thank you.
Big geek show or something.
Let's just go on.
Wow.
Let's just move. Let's just
dismissive.
Rightfully so, Tom. Rightfully so.
You missed us, Tom.
I did. I missed everyone.
Mm-hmm. So, while we may have Tom and Sal has always been here. He's a cockroach. So while Tom and I may have faded away for a little while, you have been very busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never think I can get more busy, and then I manage to get more busy. Yeah.
Figure out a way.
I joked with my friends about that. Like, only I would be the one who would get more work during the coronavirus, right?
Yeah.
No one else can do that. Yeah.
So what did you do during the COVID-19? Well, you know, I repainted the downstairs of my house. I also reworked the entire distribution system of how comics work. And you know, I just, you know, looking for someone to, you know, give my dog a good grooming. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I built some barn doors, and Christina completely blew up comic book distribution in the last 30 years.
Me too.
Well, tell us how did this come about? I mean, obviously we know the situation was Diamond Distribution, who has been basically the sole distributor of comic books for 30 years, essentially shut down because of COVID-19, and then we found out that your new company, Lunar Distribution, was going to be one of the two new distributors for DC Comics. So how did that happen?
Well, you know what? I'm gonna shut my room really quick just so I don't have a bunch of background noise. I should have done that to begin with. It was actually a very quick thing that happened. It wasn't something that you know, obviously everything with COVID has been kind of quick, right? So you just kind of have to make these decisions. I mean, I can tell you that DC's made like comments, not anyone who's at DC now, but they had made comments in the last few years about distribution and just asking questions about, you know, what do you feel the challenges are in distribution. I can tell you that, I mean, we're one of the largest accounts, so we really don't have much of an issue with Diamond. I mean, everyone receives, you know, damages here, shortages there, but generally speaking, we receive excellent service from Diamond. So it wasn't an issue of that. When COVID happened, you know, we have been running ever since it happened. So there's never been a day. I mean, I've been giving my people 3-day weekends because we don't really have enough product to send out to customers and things like that.
And I think I need to jump in here just because we came in cold, and just for anyone who doesn't know, Christina's owner operator of DCBS and InStockTrades.com. So for anyone out there that doesn't know, you're I would say probably safe to say the largest comic book retailer in the country.
Yeah, you could probably say that. Yeah. You know, I mean, Diamond helped us out with that when they accidentally leaked the Marvel numbers, and you can probably extrapolate from that where everyone is.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really a very simple us reaching out to publishers and saying, hey, we really need new product as soon as you can get it. And them coming back to us and saying, well, without Diamond being able to ship those items to you, you know, we're kind of at a standstill until Diamond can get back. And I think that DC was incredibly concerned for all of the retailers that were basically saying, if you don't get us new product soon, we're going out of business. Mm-hmm. And I think for every one person who was being very loud and saying, no, just stop everything, there were 3 more people saying, give me new product. And so I think DC was genuinely concerned about, I mean, I know they were, about the health of the industry, what it was going to look like without having that new product. So they approached us and Midtown, and I'm sure other people, and they just, you know, asked what our capacity for that was. And then, you know, we kind of went from there and determined whether we were going to be able to do what they wanted us or needed us to do in the interim of Diamond being fully up and running. So it was a bit of a whirlwind, and we learned a lot in 2 or 3 weeks. It was not, wasn't fun. It was, I mean, and then of course we get the backlash of being a retailer and people saying really horrendous things about us and how unethical, yada, yada, whatever. Oh, they're going to try to target all of our customers and they're going to use our data, which all is utterly preposterous.
Well, and it seems silly too that, I mean, I get it from their perspective. I'm in an industry that deals with that sort of mindset as well, but it's like, don't they understand what's good for them in this situation is good for you?
Right. Well, and the thing is, like, to be honest, it's a lot of work for very little payoff. And we were just trying to keep people in business. I mean, that genuinely, like, we were worried. We want the comic industry to be healthy. If it's not healthy, then we're not healthy either. Like, publishers aren't healthy. Publishers can turn around and say, okay, maybe we just shouldn't print comics anymore. Like, that was our main concern, was how long can we not have new print comics out in the marketplace before a Marvel and a DC say, let's just do it all digitally. Yeah. You know, and that was a genuine concern for us. So we were willing to help in any way, shape, or form.
So I mean, really from a logistics standpoint, and correct me if I'm wrong, for you guys, the big change is that you're just not receiving comics from Diamond. You're receiving comics directly from the printer, and then
for DC,
and then moving them on to retailers and your customers.
Right.
That's so it's really just shortening the chain.
Right?
It
is. Like, we're essentially distributing to retailers, and then we're distributing to ourselves. Mm-hmm. So that we can take care of the customer that way. And so last week we received our first Diamond shipment, which was very tiny. It was literally, I would say, 1/6 to 1/8 of the size of a normal weekly shipment.
Now, but you're still receiving books from Diamond, which
we just did.
So
well, they weren't before that.
Publishers send to print houses. Print houses send to Diamond. Diamond sends to you, but you're also receiving comics directly from printers or publishers and then sending them on. So like my comic book shop down the corner's Collector's Edge here in Milwaukee, they now have either an option to order from Diamond and you or you know,
or only Diamond
or only Diamond.
Right.
So, but it gives them a second option as far as a distribution channel for them to order from.
Right.
So,
It does, but I mean, let's be honest. Who wants to order them separately when they can get them all in one place and they pay one shipping charge? And so
Well,
I mean, it could change.
Is
Yeah.
that
There's a lot to be said for not having all of your eggs in one basket as
Yeah,
well.
true.
So from the beginning, was this something that was sort of presented as this is a stopgap measure? This is something, in the meantime, as Diamond is down, or
Yes.
we're not sure of the future. What's going to happen?
Yeah, we're not sure of the future. We don't even know if you want to do it. We don't even know how long you'll want to do it, or what, how that's going to go from there. So it's you obviously have to be under contract. So you're under a very short-term contract, and let's figure it out. Let's see what we can do. And
So how did it go? The first couple, you've had 2 shipments now, or
2 weeks
we've
in?
had 3 weeks go out now. It hasn't gone badly. We've had some issues where FedEx is, so we use FedEx. So our negotiated rates are with FedEx. UPS keeps coming back. FedEx keeps lowering them. So we've got really great rates with them. But what FedEx did, so when COVID initially hit and California shut down, UPS sent all the packages back. They just didn't even try to deliver them. They literally sent them back to the shippers.
Yep.
Well, FedEx, because they were already at their end point, they were at those centers in California, they trailered all of those in hopes that they could help the customers out sooner as soon as COVID passed. Well, what it has done is created this giant backlog. So and the reason it's caused the giant backlog is because, they had originally thought, oh, it's just going to go back to normal shipping. We'll be able to get these trailers taken care of. Well, it hasn't. And we've heard this from the post office, from UPS, and from FedEx. It's like Christmas right now.
Oh, it's not just you.
Right. Exactly.
My company is shipping and freight is a fucking nightmare right now.
It is. And so FedEx has been having issues getting some of these California retailers their shipments, and then we backed it up the next week, an extra day, but we only have so many extra days we can go to send it out, right? So we still have some areas in California that are experiencing those delays, and it's frustrating for them. It's frustrating for us because we're trying to help them. But generally speaking, we've had a lot of good feedback. People have been incredibly gracious, and retailers expect a lot. They always have, we always will, right? So well,
you're a retailer,
right?
Well,
we want it in the best condition possible for the least amount of money, for the least amount of shipping, and the fastest time, right? So it's actually been a good learning experience, but it's very similar to our own customers. So it's not that far afield of what we're used to expecting.
Do you feel, and just only because I have to deal with it in my day-to-day, work and business, do you feel that the COVID-19 crisis has encouraged people to be a little bit more patient, to say, you know what, I understand that the world's kind of upside down right now? Or have you found that people are just as impatient as always and maybe a little bit more on edge?
I think it's a little of both.
A little of both. Yep.
Yes. So I have some people who are like, I don't care. You can't give me an excuse, right? And other people who are emailing me and saying, I understand the situation right now. This isn't a big deal. I know that, you're not sending me kidneys kind of thing, but, I just want to let you know of this delay. But 95% of the people we've dealt with have been incredible, really. And they've been, like, I talked to somebody the other day in California who was super gracious, told me, I love what you're doing. I love your packaging. I've had no shortages, no damages, no, issues. And I love it. And I want to keep using you. And I'm like, well, if DC wants you to, it is going to ultimately be up to DC.
This brings up a very important point. because I'm sitting out on the back deck today with my wife, and she's been on me. It's like, I want you to start having more female creators and female industry people on the show, and I think it's very important for you to do that. It's like, honey, tonight's the episode for you. Not only a female, but probably one of the most important females in the comic book industry. And I talked to her about the whole distribution thing, and I was like, and Diamond, right? And she's like, yeah, they have the best boxes. That basically moved our entire house up to Wisconsin. We're Diamond boxes.
Mhm.
And so her big question is, are your boxes going to be as good as Diamond boxes? That was her one fucking question.
That's hilarious. Our boxes are different in that.
Will they pack books, and are they easy to carry?
There's something very wrong about this question.
Yeah.
You're asking,
Well, actually, we had a couple of boxes made specifically to the Diamond boxes years ago, just because it was easier for DCBS. So we do use those same boxes for that exact reason, because they're made to fit comics side by side with a thing in the middle, a little.
I'm not saying that we had a lot of comics to move whenever we moved from Chicago to Wisconsin.
No,
may have been a lot of books.
Yeah.
Well, I know there was a story, I think, on maybe Bleeding Cool about at least one retailer who was very impressed with the packaging that they received, and it's like, yeah, they're a retailer. They're used to this. They know. I mean, I just got this from you guys. I just ordered this the other day. I just got it in like 2 days ago, and it's like, it comes in this giant box full of popcorn, and it's incredibly protected, and it's like, yeah, this is what they've been doing for years and years and years. They know what they're doing, so it's interesting.
How long have you guys been in business? How long is DCBS?
It'll be 21 next month.
How long?
21 years next month.
Wow.
Yeah.
You are not the new kids on the block anymore.
Yeah.
And that had to be why they came to you. Is that, I mean, it's really just a matter of scalability, because you've been shipping comics to thousands of people a week for 2 decades now.
Right.
Now, what I don't want to get too much inside baseball, but have you really had to scale up? I don't know, with the short term of this. I mean, are you renting out more warehouse space? Is it? I mean, are you looking at the scalability of this?
We lucked out because when we moved back to Indiana 2 years ago, almost now, we own that warehouse that's in downtown Fort Wayne, and we have an extra 15,000 square feet in the back that we were just using for storage. Actually, there was a business that was supposed to be going into that, and then COVID hit, and we hadn't signed lease papers, and now that's kind of up in the air at this point. So we took that space over for Lunar. So it's a completely separate operation. It's literally the warehouse that's attached to DCBS, but it is a separate warehouse, separate systems, separate everything. I mean, our developer is the one who, he worked so many hours. I couldn't even, he literally worked 7 days a week for 3 weeks straight to get everything set up, get it Lunar running the way, because there are different things that you have to do shipping wise, multi-piece shipments, and
you're setting up accounts and
the setting up of accounts was, Cameron is like the pro at that, just because he does all our tax stuff for the DCBS and insect trade side of it, and that's the nightmare of setting up accounts, because everyone has to have a resale certificate and everyone has to be verified. And
is there a ballpark on how many comic book retailers there are in the U.S. and are you guys just U.S.? Are you U.S., Canada, Mexico? Are you international?
We are technically part of Canada and part of U.S. They split us so that we would have a pretty even amount. So that neither of us were just like bombarded, essentially. Sure. I don't know how many retailer accounts. Isn't that always the magic question with Diamond, right? Because they never really never know. I think that the numbers in the 2,400 range.
Okay, that's
But then
pretty
many,
healthy.
yeah, but many people have said that there are a lot of buying clubs in that number. And so I don't know. I mean, if you look at that Marvel, I don't know if you saw the Marvel spreadsheet that got out last November. I mean, the bottom 500 are awfully small accounts, like really
Sure.
small.
Sure. Yeah.
So, I'm not sure. And there are a lot, there are a lot of accounts that like publishers have with Diamond for certain things, or people who are, in the industry. So I'm not sure how many solid actual brick and mortar or legitimate online stores there are.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Kirsten, it's interesting. We've known each other for a long time. You like Chris had said, you were a sponsor of the show a long time ago. And what was it that got you and Cameron into this business? I don't think I've ever asked you that question. Like, how did you get into selling comics in the first place?
Well, I finally got to stay home with our third child, and Cameron was a CPA. He was at the time that Quinn was born. Let me think. I think he was with Ernst & Young. And one of his clients was Lincoln Financial Corp, and a big insurance company. And they're actually in Pennsylvania, I think, is like their headquarters in
That's
Philadelphia.
where the Phillies plays, Lincoln Financial, or is that
Right.
the Eagles, Lincoln Financial Field?
Okay. Yeah. So he, of course, had always collected. And he came to me one day when Quinn was, 6 months old, who is now 21. He'll be 22 in August. And he said, hey, I have this idea about, I've been looking on the internet, and this was 1999. So the internet was a very different place, right? And he said, I looked on the internet, and there are these comic shops that have like these tiered discounts. And, I got to thinking I'd really like to maybe start my own business to give people like the same discount. Like it's just one flat discount. It's very simple. They can benefit. I can benefit, and that's literally how it started. So he created a Microsoft front page. He went to Diamond. He, filled out the paperwork, and we had it, and we finished our basement in the house, and we were off to the races. And about 6 months in is when it started to get serious. And I was like, what? Like, I finally get to stay home with our children. I'd always worked full time. And it just kind of grew from there. It grew so quickly, and it was all word of mouth, that within about 4 or 5 years, I was ready to divorce him, because every single room in my house had statues and boxes of comics. And I mean, it was
his dream.
It was
Comic book wise nightmare.
It was the worst. Like, I thought I was going to have a nervous breakdown. It was that bad, because all I did was work, and all he did was work. And we had these 3, children in school, and this and that. And then they have softball, and they have soccer, and, and you're like, I can't do it with my house full of all this stuff. And then we eventually moved into something, and then moved again. And then we finally bought our building 5 years ago.
It's funny you say, I finally get to stay home from work. But yeah, you're not staying home. You're working.
No.
Yeah.
And it was, I was like, I'm totally supporting you in this. Of course you can do it. This is a fantastic idea. And he's like, you're not going to have to do anything. Don't worry. And he laughs about that, because he swears that he didn't say that, but he did.
Yeah. 20 years later. And
Yeah.
President of the CBLBF.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, 2018. You
which
were named...
I want to touch base on later. But just for us, you fast forward 2005, 2006, and podcasts start coming out, and the comic book podcast was, I think, kind of the perfect example of niche entertainment for what podcasts could be. It was, if you were interested in something that you didn't think anyone else was interested in, there was a podcast for you. And the comic book podcast, there were kind of like this core of like probably 10 to 15 shows, and it exploded from there. And every single one of them was sponsored by DCBS or InStockTrades.com. You guys figured that out so fast, and I think that anyone that listened to a comic book podcast, and so we're probably talking maybe 40,000 listeners total would be my guess, they were hammered by DCBS and InStockTrades.com ads all the time. It was really smart for you guys. Did that have a significant impact on your business at the time?
It did. What's funny is I thought that Cameron was crazy. I was like, what? No, why would we spend that money? Like, what are you? And he said, no, it's not that expensive, and we don't really have like marketing expenses. And I said, okay, whatever, But then, I would listen to the podcasts, so it was nice to hear our ads. And most of the time, people had already been sending us people by word of mouth without us sponsoring them. So then it was kind of a natural progression as a, yeah, thanks. Yes, we appreciate you kind of being our, holding our flag up high all the time. So, it was really, it's the one, there are many things that Cameron has done right. And that was one of the biggest ones.
Nice.
Yeah.
So going back to this new distribution thing, and it's a whole new world, a sort of Wild West thing that comics hasn't seen. I mean, it's like I said in the beginning, it's been 30 years, and Diamond has had this monopoly on distribution. What has the feedback been for you? Positive, negative? I'm sure there's both, but anything in particular that you want to talk about?
It's all been pretty positive. The only negative is that, obviously the biggest negative for most people is that we're a retailer, and they think, most people who have a problem with us being a retailer think that we're going to just all of a sudden like lower our, or raise our discounts again, or use whatever data we receive from their accounts to do something to sabotage their businesses or something. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, we have no intention of doing that. Like, you've all met Cam, and I know you haven't seen him in years, but like Cameron is literally, and I'm not saying that I'm not, but Cameron is literally one of the most ethical people you will ever meet.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And so am I, but I like, that doesn't even cross our mind. We work really hard to do what we can do to take care of our customers and to get as many comics out there as possible. And it really is in no way targeting any other retailer. In fact, we're always very happy when other retailers are successful and have these great communities that they've created within their own stores. It's not our business, and we're good at what we do, and they're great at what they do. So, any person, like, to be fair, we could have targeted any sort anytime. All you have to do is type in a zip code and find a comic shop. And if you think they're big enough, you could target them if you wanted to. That's just not what we want to do. That's not our thing.
I always looked at you guys as you were an option as the comic book retailer market was starting to shrink. And I think that there are a lot of comic book fans out there that were kind of left with no retail option, or it was a retail option that was maybe an hour drive away, especially, if you're in, central Illinois, and maybe the nearest shop is Champaign or St. Louis. And, how many people realistically are going to drive an hour a week?
How many shitty comic book stores were able to survive because there was no competition?
Yes.
If they're doing their job, if they're servicing their customers, the way that they should be, they have nothing to worry about. If they're a good comic book shop, they have nothing to worry about from DCBS. If they're a shitty comic book shop that has been surviving because there's no other option, then yeah, they have a lot to worry about when you guys came on the scene. You know, I was that perfect example of that because I had 3 comic book shops in driving distance to me where I lived, and I didn't want to shop at any of them. And so for a long time, I bought from DCBS because that was my best option. They just didn't give me enough as a customer to want to shop in their stores. If I had a great shop, and this isn't, you know, in the city where there are great shops, but in the suburbs where I'm at in Chicago, there just were not what I considered really great comic book shops, because it's more, you know, I think for consumers to go to those stores, it's more than just, here are your books. You know, and I think a lot of retailers aren't offering much more than that, or at least didn't for a long time. But you see the really great stores that do offer more than that, and they don't have anything to worry about from
Dark Tower, Challengers in Chicago. I mean, you know, even, you know, Graham Crackers, which is a
Right.
large chain. I mean, they understand the value of building community within their stores, and that's, I think, the stores that have thrived and have succeeded see the value in building community within their customer base. But there are a lot of really bad stores out there, and there are a lot of people that, you know, and distance. I still think that distance was a big factor in a lot of people. I mean, we used to hear stories all the time from listeners that are just like, yeah, I'm in rural Montana, and there's no one that talks to comics, you know, what, and so we listen to I listen to the show because I have no one else to talk about comics, and thank you for turning me on to InStockTrades.com, because that's where I get all my trades now. And so I think that was, you guys filled a very needed void in the market, and some retailers are going to be upset about that.
Absolutely. And yes, there are people who have comic shops close to them that we have a lot of customers who buy some from us and buy some from their local shop.
Sure.
There are people who, like you said, we have numerous people who tell us, I would not be buying comics if I weren't buying them from you, because I'm an hour and a half from a store. Like that nobody in their right mind, unless you're buying hundreds of dollars worth of comics every week, would it make sense to drive an hour and a half. And some of them said, and they shop an hour and a half away, I don't want to shop at anyway. To your point, Brian, right? So I think that, yeah, we've probably made some people up their game, and that's good for the industry.
Absolutely.
As far as I'm concerned.
Was there anything in this, process that you didn't foresee? Any issues, problems, things that came up that you were like, oh, wait a minute, we didn't really expect that kind of thing?
Not really. I can't really think of anything. I can tell you it's hard. It's difficult to, we're super particular about the books that we send out, even to our own customers. And we certainly are for retailers. And there are some retailers that are even more particular than we are. And to be perfectly honest, those books don't even come in that shape anymore. So that is kind of an expectation that we were like, wow, they think they should be getting mint and near mint books. They're not. They don't even come from the printer like that.
Do they want them slabbed?
Practically, right? Yeah. If we offered that service, they probably would. So that's probably the only, people have given Diamond grief for years, and Diamond is the best at what they do. They really are, because there is no one, including us or Midtown currently, who could possibly distribute the number of comics that they have been distributing over the last 10.
Heavy as the head that wears the crown, right? Right. Yeah.
Now, that's not to say that they don't have places to improve immensely. Like their system in general is clunky, and And there's still some, I mean, when you are dealing with human beings, you're going to have mistakes. So for everyone to assume that there should never be a mistake is absolutely ridiculously bonkers. But it would be nice to not have mistakes sometimes, right? But I'm not going to, I say that to my staff every time, right? For our own DCBS customers. Like every time a customer gets something incorrect or damaged or, it's delayed or whatever, it's not just the fact that they got it incorrectly or it was delayed or damaged. It's that loss of customer goodwill that continues to go on and go on if it continues to happen. Now, luckily, for the most part, that doesn't happen to our customers continually, but with some diamond customers, it does. So I understand their, frustration when every single week they receive damages, they have shortages, they have overages. I mean, it's a lot of loss of payroll and time, and it's inefficient, etc. But I mean, it's the name of the game when you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of units every week too.
So with that being said, and you saying, there's a lot of work involved in distributing comics and not necessarily a ton of payoff. Is this something that you want to continue doing? Is this something that Lunar is looking to continue to do and expand on?
I mean, yes. And I'm saying that in a term of, I think there are a lot of smaller publishers that maybe do not get, and I can't speak for them, so I shouldn't. But I think there are a lot of smaller publishers that we could probably help distribute and give them a little more exposure. I mean, we do that as DCBS, right? So I have people who will come to me and say, I have these 6 books. I want you to sell them. And I'll say, okay, I'm going to put them up. And we'll see if people buy them. And if they buy them, then we'll order them from you. And we do. So I think that we could potentially do that as as Lunar, where we have 5 or 6 smaller publishers who want us to distribute. That is another option that we could give to the retailers that want to remain with us.
That brings up an interesting question I wanted to ask you about Kickstarter, because we've had the last couple episodes, we had Jim Rugg on, who has a big Kickstarter book that he's doing. We had
Ryan Brown and Charles Soule,
who are doing a Kickstarter. And the thing about Kickstarter is, it's this great thing for these creators to be able to pre-sell their books and know how many they're going to print, but then at some point they have to distribute them. And it surprises me that there isn't some company out there that's able to come in and offer reasonable distribution for big Kickstarter books. And I was wondering if that was ever something that you guys have looked into.
We haven't, but I think it depends on, it depends on a couple of things. We did speak to a small publisher, and they said, we just don't have we don't even have the storage space to do this kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then there are some creators that do, that house everything wherever they live, or they have an office space that they can use.
Ryan and Charles are actually partnering with Challengers Comics in Chicago to do the distribution of their Kickstarter once it's completed. So they've kind of taken it to that next little level, which kind of comes back to the issues you're talking about.
Well, and I think it depends on the scope of it, the size of the Kickstarter. I mean, if you're talking about 100 books, a creator can usually pretty easily figure out a way to get a Stamps.com account.
They're like 1,200 books now, and they're like 4.5 pounds a book.
Right. And so once you're talking pallets of books, then it starts getting a little more hairy for the creators. And now that, even when Diamond, shut down, there were a lot of creators who were like, oh shit, let's do a Kickstarter because we've got to figure out how to, make some money here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we talked to Ryan about it, and he said that Amazon, which Amazon owns Kickstarter now. Is that, or there's
Do they? That doesn't surprise me.
or there's if they don't, there's a relationship there, that Amazon is already offering to take care of fulfillment for obviously a cut of of what you make in your Kickstarter. So that's certainly a market there with the Kickstarter comic book market, that distribution seems to be there's a gap there, especially
it's a unique thing though, because a lot of times a lot of the Kickstarter campaigns rely on the rewards, so it's like you have these tiers I think that's where it becomes tricky, because it's not as tricky. Simple. Yeah. But
you have sketch cards, or you have a litho, or but those are also easy usually to ship because they're hardcovers with maybe a sketch card or a mini litho or something like that. The thing that makes distribution hard, and Diamond will tell you this, is single issue comics. It's the same thing that makes DCBS hard, right? Yeah. Like, you're dealing with a $4 item on a very low margin, and you have to get it to somebody. Like, you can't send somebody 4 books and make any money on it unless you're charging them an exponential amount to them, right? Almost the cost of the books themselves to even be able to ship it to them. So volume is king. And that's the only way that makes that work.
Interesting. It's also, one of the things that I've always loved about you is that you're not just a comic book retailer, you're a comic book fan. And we used to talk about this back in the day. So throwing out the question, what are you reading these days?
I haven't read a book in it's been a while. Like, let me think of what the last thing I read. I can't even remember. I had a very it's been difficult the last year and a half to find something that I've really latched onto.
That's what happened to us. That's why we went away. So
So I'll be honest, and I was super busy. I mean, a lot has gone on in my life in the last year and a half, to say the least. Just from moving to Memphis and then moving back from Memphis, and then and we had a when we moved to Memphis, we had a daughter get married. We had a son graduate high school, a son graduate college, all in within 6 months. So, and then Memphis was an absolute nightmare, and horrible staffing issues. And it was probably the worst year of my life. Then I finally decided to move DCBS back here. And then it was just like a struggle to just get everything the way it needed to be again, back to what it was. And it's been great. I mean, we've been great for a while now. And then COVID hits, and but there's always something, right? There's always craziness. There's not been anything. I've had a real, it's like that loss of faith that you have, which I had that many years ago. But where you are like, wow, is anyone speaking to me? And I haven't really felt like that. It's been a little over a year now. I'm
right there with you, sister. I understand exactly where you were. It was kind of a I don't want to say losing of religion of comics for a while, but it was I know for me, to step away because it was feeling like a job, and then to slowly come back to it and say, oh yeah, I remember why I like these. So all I can say is they'll be there for you whenever you want.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure that I'll find something that just really hits me right. It felt like every time, because we get a lot of PDFs, and it felt like every time I got a PDF, it's like I feel like I've read this already. It was starting to get like that. And I would even call, and I call a publisher, I'm not going to name who the publisher was, and I would say, if I have to read one more post-apocalyptic PDF, I'm going to lose it. Stop. Can we get a little, we've got to start being a little more original here. And I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for my saga, right? Even God Country. Like, I loved God Country. I loved Redneck when it came out. I'm ready again for a Scalped, like something that just like hit me
Grabs
so
you.
hard the way Scalp did, and
Sure.
even Sweet Tooth, So I've always been a Vertigo Image person at heart anyway. So, I'm ready for that next, and I know it's going to come. For my daughter, it was Black Hammer. She just went nuts over Black. She's like, Mom, you gotta read
That's
this.
probably the book that brought me back in.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is how I want comic books to make me feel. This is, it feels fresh, and Jeff gets it, and that was probably the book. That was probably the first book kind of coming back, reading for pleasure, that I was just like, okay, this is how it's supposed to feel. And I love that.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure it'll come. Literally the last 6 months, I just haven't had time. So
sure.
I'll probably miss on something fantastic.
Busy changing the way that comics work.
Yeah. I don't know. Just busy. It's funny how that happens, right? Like, you don't really mean for it, but it just gets thrown in your lap and you figure it out.
Yeah.
That's my whole life, though, right? That's life with 4 children.
Hey, honey,
mostly grown, but yeah.
Hey, I have this idea. I want to start my own business, and 21 years later.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. Christina, I have to say, I know you have your critics, and for me, we've known each other for a long time, and I just want to say one thing about you is that you have always been so generous with your time and willing to come on the show and talk. And there has never been a time where you've been like, I'm not going to talk about this. I don't want to discuss that. We've never even had a conversation about like what you would and would not talk about. And you've always just been open and honest and straightforward. And, the people that criticize you for what you're doing, I wish they would know a little bit more about you and understand that, you're just running a business and trying to do the best you can. And these things, I think sometimes people look at it like you're trying to do something nefarious. You're trying to do something to undermine other people. And it's just so silly if they actually knew who you were. So I just want to say thank you for coming on all the time and just being, you've always just been you, and right. I appreciate that.
It's, I say that to Cameron all the time. I'm like, any retailer who's met me, I'm friends with lots of retailers. And I had a few retailer friends who reached out to me when all of this went down. And they were just like, yeah, we know you're not trying to steal our customers. We know you. It's preposterous to think that you're doing this for anything other than just trying to help. And genuinely, if you know all the work that went into it, many people would, even people who are, as generous of their time and their efforts and whatever, would not be willing to put the amount of work into it that we did. And, but people will always feel better about saying something unfortunately, the loudest voices in comics right now are the very people who want to keep comics from growing. And I truly believe that. And I had a rant with a friend of mine who is in comics and who works for a publisher. And I said, the problem is that most of these people who are the loud voices are saying, we don't want comics to grow. No, we like our little club and we like to sell to the customers we sell to. And that's not where my head is at. And it never has been. I am willing for a publisher to put comics anywhere they possibly can to expose people to the medium, because big picture, that means that they're going to seek out a comic shop. They're going to seek out someone online, because none of those places even if they were in every Walmart, every grocery store, every Target, every single place you could possibly put them. First, they're either never going to come in your shop anyway, so it doesn't matter. Or second, they're going to seek you out because those places aren't going to have the knowledge, the width of everything that they could purchase
Community.
that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So it would only benefit you. That's how I feel about digital too. Digital is something that's going to expose people to the medium. And if they were never going to buy from us anyway, at least they're buying it and they're keeping the publishers healthy.
You've always had a model of high tide raises all ships.
Exactly.
All
and
right.
Unfortunately, there are some that aren't. There are some people who don't believe that, and they want to keep this, special little club, and that's fine. That's just not my mindset.
Well, I think it's awesome what you guys are doing. It's that you've got our support, and we just are gonna continue to talk about the great job that you do, and wish you nothing but the best. And hopefully we'll have you on after all, like the world is not upside down.
Yes.
And you're still doing this, and like a year from now we can talk about how comic book sales are going through the roof, and you're a big part of that.
I hope so. We'll do our best to do that, right?
Absolutely.
Maybe
so
someday.
Christina, know that you are welcome back anytime that you want to talk with us, and
thanks.
And please keep doing the great work that you're doing.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's great talking with you.
Great talking with you.
Thanks, Christina.
All right.
Uh-huh.
All right. Best to
Bye-bye,
Cameron.
guys. I will.
All right. Christina Merkler, one of the owner-operators of DCBS and InStockTrades.com. We didn't get to. She's also the president of the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Call her back.
We'll have to have her back to talk
Call her
about
back.
LDF. But yeah, that's a big, if there's like three things that we've talked about over and over again in like the 15 years since we started this, it would be like event fatigue, and we need to have more like women and minority inclusion in comics, and the DC or the diamond monopoly in distribution. Those are like the three things that everyone talks about ad nauseum. I'm so glad that that is changing. A lot of those are changing.
Destroy it all.
Burn it.
Like, burn it
all
down.
to
Burn
the
it all.
ground.
Burn it all to the ground.
Oh, that was,
Start over.
I don't know. We've always kind of shied away from the business of comics to some degree.
Tends to be boring.
It does, and it can be a bit of a slog to kind of get into that kind of thing. But I thought that it was important to sort of, this is a
seismic shift.
It really is. It's this groundbreaking kind of thing of like, wow, this is the first time a new distributor has been around. So for 30 years, and to be able to, have, and we've known her for so long. And like I said to her, it's like, she's always been so honest and straightforward with us, and just willing to talk about things. I just loved having her on, and
she paid lips and dues for like 20 podcasts.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No kidding.
Easily.
Yeah, kept them alive.
All right. Well,
seriously, there wasn't a podcast that you would listen to in 2008 that wasn't sponsored by DCBS or In Stock Trades.
That Cameron Merkler, he
knew.
Savvy marketer, that man.
Son of a bitch.
He knew where to go.
Son of a bitch.
All right. So that was fun. Hey, I saw, speaking of comic book news, so we had talked about Green Lantern Earth 1 Volume 1.
Yes.
I just saw this week that Volume 2 is greenlit.
Gabriel Hardman
and lovely wife Karina Sarabecco.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
There you go. Gabe is Gabriel Hardman is such a terrific artist and storyteller, and but I'm such a Hal Jordan Green Lantern purist that I have to admit I had a little bit of a hard time with it.
I really liked it.
I know,
it's an Elseworlds tale.
It's not a quality
If
issue.
he's not a toy salesman or an
Insurance man.
if he's not sort of
Cartoonist.
like an aimless white man in his 30s, just sort of wandering between professions.
Bad suit.
Yeah. I don't know. That's not my Hal Jordan.
Okay, you got me, Tom. You don't have to twist the knife in my back.
That's not my guy. Listen.
Hey, I got a listener email. You want me to read?
Really?
Yes.
How do people email the show, Sal?
You can email us at info at aroundcomics.com, or you can go to www.aroundcomics.com and click on the contact us section of the website and just send us an email from there. And we would love to hear from all of our listeners. And while I'm at it, I want to implore any of our listeners or viewers, if you're on YouTube watching this, if you're on iTunes or iMusic or whatever the fuck you're listening to this, please share Around Comics with your friends and loved ones, because we were gone for a while and not everybody knows that we're back. So it'd be nice if we can spread the word. It would really be a big help to us. If you want to give us a review on iTunes, we would love that. Please comment and subscribe to YouTube, our YouTube channel. If you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, that would be awesome, because as we get more subscribers, like, YouTube unlocks different things that we're able to do on YouTube.
Like a video game. Achievement.
Yeah.
Unlocked.
Yeah, sort of. So please.
I need a Vorpal sword. Subscribe.
And also, if you'd like to support the show in other ways, which we would appreciate, you can go to ko-fi coffee.com/aroundcomics, and you can donate like $3, buy us a cup of coffee if you'd like to do that. Or you can go to aroundcomics.com/shop, SHOP, and you can buy some Around Comics merch. We have official Around Comics merchandise now. We have a bunch of shirts. We have some hats. We have a coffee mug or two. All sorts of Around Comics stuff.
Get the mug.
Get the mug. The mug. I ordered a bunch
right now.
There you go.
It has your likeness, Tom.
Yes, I did. Well,
Hats.
sort of. We have hats,
sweatshirts,
t-shirts, coffee mugs.
Beanies.
I'm trying to come up with more stuff to put on there, but there's a for you hardcore old school listeners, the people that have been around for a long time. I know there's still a few of you out there that love and miss the segment of the show we used to do called Future Stacks. Well, while we don't do the segment any longer, I did make a t-shirt just for you. It is a Future Stacks, is Days of Future Stacks. It's sort of a takeoff of X-Men number 141.
Fast.
Days of Future
That can be your
Past.
next Comics 101.
Future.
No.
I didn't realize Future Stacks was spelled with 2 X's.
Well, it just was for this logo because it needed to be extreme, Tom.
I feel like I would have liked the segment better if I knew that.
It was the logo is very retro. It's a very 80s inspired,
yeah.
which I found is disturbing because it came very naturally to me to design a horrible.
Because you're old.
I am. I was designing stuff in the 80s with gradients and like neon, chrome.
Turn on the corner.
This is like a bad X-Men crossover.
It is.
Future Stacks.
But it's an awesome shirt, so yes, you can get that at aroundcomics.com/shop.
I have
So
to get a Future Stacks shirt.
I ordered one.
So listener email.
info@aroundcomics.com. Okay, this is from Clint. Clint said, "Hi guys, I'm really late to this one, but I just got around to your episode number 310 discussion of Die Volume 1.
I was gonna say it was like
how long?
pre-comeback.
No.
I just got back. I just got around to episode 200.
You guys are
Interview with John Byrne.
You guys are idiots.
It said, I generally agree with your take on the book, but you missed an extremely important part of the story. all the stuff about World War One was in there as a way of talking about how J.R.R. Tolkien experience in World War One was a major question mark influence on modern fantasy. I know it's way too late for this information to be helpful or probably even interesting. I just was yelling at my computer so much while I listened that I couldn't resist sending this message.
That's the best feedback ever, is whenever we make you yell at your computer or your iPod or your car stereo. Yeah, I can see. Yeah, it's yeah, I mean, there was a lot of stuff that was inspired by World War One. There was never had been a war on a scale that size, and we saw it's the whole Lost Generation authors that came out of that, and I can see inspiration hitting Tolkien out of WW1.
Well, have either of you seen the movie Tolkien?
No,
not.
It's basically the kind of a biography of J.R.R. Tolkien, and a section of it is dedicated to his experience in World War One. So I can definitely see that. I kind of feel like this email is directed towards me a bit because I was the one who sort of poo-pooed the book based
Dear
on
Sal.
You did poo-poo a little bit.
Fucking idiots.
I did poo-poo it a little bit, but no, that's an interesting point, Clint. I see it. Clint.
Thanks, Clint.
Thanks, Clint. No, that is Tolkien's experience and how it influenced modern fantasy. I don't know if I necessarily see that in the book though. Like, how did Tolkien's? I mean, World War One was horrible, and his experience.
I can see like Mordor. I mean, you look at like the
Sure. Okay, that makes sense. Yes, I'm an idiot.
Warfare.
Yes.
And
Machinery, the Industrial Revolution versus nature. That's all in Lord of the Rings. Certainly, you have the treants and the what are the ogre. I mean, especially if you look in the movies, you have that's illustrated very well.
Industrialization versus nature,
and how World War One was that first war that science and technology was this monster. I mean, mustard gas, and that was such a horrible thing, and how it the mechanized tanks and machine guns for the first time, and how all that machinery, all that brilliant weapons of war that were created, how coming to that for the first time, I could see how that would affect someone. And then Tolkien took that and wrote what we know as modern fantasy. He kind of created it. That's a great email, Clint. Nice job.
Thanks.
Clint.
Thanks,
go,
Clint.
He did finish up saying, thanks for all the shows over the years. I am a listener from way back.
Wow. Good.
Well, thank you, Clint. Seriously. Appreciate the email. Appreciate you.
Strong man.
Listening. And you have a fucking name, Clint. That's a real man's name. Clint. But yeah, that's cool. If you want to email us, please feel free to email us or contact us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We have all the social media. We don't have a TikTok.
Where's
Tom,
the TikTok? I need the TikTok.
Tom, are you going to start a TikTok for us?
Where we just dance, TikTok dances.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah. All right, I'll get it cranking. Let's get this. Let's get some content out there.
We gotta get this stuff moving. What the hell?
Yeah. Gotta get content.
We also during the live streams, if you watch on YouTube, you can also chime in during the live streams, and we'll answer your questions live.
We
gives you a chance to chime in. So
say something.
You can yell at us.
Speaking of chiming in, so we've tried to do this like book of the month-ish.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Are you jokers? Have you finished reading Coffin? It's not even my fucking pick. Have you finished reading Coffin Bound yet, Sal?
No.
No, I have not. Well, you have me studying Shazam history so I can do a comics
Why is that
101.
on me? Why? What did
because
I tell
you
everyone to do
threw-
a comics 101?
Yes, you said we had to do 3.
Oh.
You threw it out there, unbeknownst to me. You challenged Tom King without my
Did I say
pre-authorization.
you need to
Fine.
study the entire history of Shazam?
No, no, you did not. But
You bake that cake yourself, sir.
I don't.
Stop arguing.
Tom, how's your comics 101 coming?
It's fine. Whatever. I could do it now.
Tom's up next.
All right, you're up next. You're on the
right,
docket.
Well, I mean, not right now. I could do it.
no.
All right, so
Soon.
this coming
is your-
week, depending on Flood Waters and his children,
If there's
what is your comics 101 going
if
to be
there are
on?
locusts,
Steve Englehart's Justice League.
Okay,
how many
awesome.
issues
That'll
is
be
that?
the next one
We
because
did like 11.
we need to
so
get-
it's
What the
like,
fuck?
we need to get sometime Sally here a little bit more time on
All
his Shazam
Fuck
101.
this. I'm not doing Shazam 101. I'm gonna pick like
just
6
you need to
issue.
pick one Shazam character. Like he'll
Harry
15
Marvel.
minutes on Hillbilly Marvel. Fat Billy.
Is there a
All right.
Hillbilly Marvel?
Yeah.
I'm gonna change my
Fat Marvel?
comics 101 to something a little simpler, a little.
Yeah.
Hey, but
Captain Carrot.
here's the what I did while we're fucking around.
Captain Carrot would be fucking awesome.
I could do Captain Carrot. That was my first comic book. Captain
There you
Carrot.
go.
All right, I could do a
I don't
Captain
think
Carrot
these
comics
will remake.
101.
I've been looking forward to the Shazam 101 though.
All right, I'll do the Shazam.
The whole history. I was like, how's he gonna get it in 15 minutes? I don't know.
No, I'm not gonna. All I was gonna do with Shazam was like pre-DC Shazam, like
Okay.
the actual Fawcett comics,
Fawcett.
Hillbilly Marvel.
and end with
Captain Marvel. You're doing.
I'm doing-
Fawcett Comics. Captain Marvel.
yes.
Tall Billy.
Tall.
Tall Billy Marvel.
Hey Tom,
Do that.
so I got a Facebook message from a legendary comic book creator
Oh, shit.
Legendary
today that
and still alive.
we have never talked to.
Yeah.
And he would be delighted to come on the show. And I won't say his name, but one of his preeminent works has something to do with your Zoom background. I'll just say that.
The American.
We'll just
flag.
go there. We'll just go there. That's all. We're gonna...
Okay. I won't spoil.
Yeah.
Literally, the words.
So we have that to look forward to. At some
Okay.
point.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. What is? No, put that down. Don't show. Don't. Yes.
Oh, come on. Yeah. Don't,
I was subtle. This
you
is
don't
what
have to spell it out for everyone.
right. Let them fill in the gaps. All right. Are you guys reading anything else? Anything else fun going on in COVID?
yeah.
COVID time.
This is really good.
You know, I started reading that and I stopped, and I'll tell you why. The reason
I hated it.
no, I didn't
It
hate
was stupid.
No.
We're talking about for the audio only podcast. We're talking about Sea of Stars by
Sea of
Jason
Stars.
Aaron and Dennis Hallam, formerly known as Dennis Hopeless, and Stephen Green.
Did he
And-
change his name?
Hmm?
Dennis Hopeless changed his name?
Yeah, it's Dennis Hallam.
Oh, all right.
So
Interesting. Did he take his wife's name? Is that what's happened?
I think Hopeless may have been a pen name.
Too depressing?
Yeah, but yeah, it's Dennis Hopeless.
Anyway,
Dennis Hopeful.
Dennis Hopeful. The reason I stopped reading is I felt like it was basically Finding Nemo in space.
Yeah,
That's what it is. It.
and it's cool.
The elevator pitch.
Hey, this is what I got. I guess I was just a little. I mean, I'm a big Jason Aaron fan. I've been a Jason Aaron on the bandwagon since Scalped. I feel like
Scalped.
Is
That was
no
later.
bigger fan.
We were on there with what was the Vietnam comic?
The Other
They
Side.
did with,
No. Yeah, The Other Side.
Huh?
The other
The other side. Yeah, we were on Jason Aaron with The Other Side.
We were. Yeah. Okay. All right. Whatever. If you want to read.
No, it's. I enjoyed the hell out of it.
All right, I'll go back.
With the first trade, it's a wacky outer space action adventure where a father and son get separated in a crazy space accident. And
is one a fish? Are they fish?
There's weird like space whales and a space monkey.
Are there surfing turtles?
There are surfing turtles. Yeah, it's a absolutely crazy, wacky outer space adventure, but it's really about a father trying to find his son
who's lost
in space,
finding his son,
finding his Nemo son,
but he's finding himself.
Finding Nemo.
You know what I found? Speaking of finding, you know what I found today? You know, a couple of episodes ago, we were going. I pulled out Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #4.
Yeah.
You know what I found today that I have?
What?
I have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #3.
Really?
And I have
first printing
of #3. And
That's solid.
Say that again.
That's solid.
Yeah. And I have Raphael, the miniseries.
Ooh.
How about that? Original
So complicated. So complicated.
You have Fugitoid?
Oh, Fugitoid.
Not anymore, no. Hey, do you remember when we had Eric Larson on the show? And
yes.
He was at Minicon, right? Was he at the Minicon? Right? Isn't that where we had him on the show when we did the Minicon? Am I remembering that wrong?
No, he was like at Challengers for a signing, I think is what it was. And we
was that what it was?
We got him to sit in. I just remember him coming up with the character Bacon Mummy.
I think back, I'm like, wow, we had Eric Larson at our little tiny, back in the day, at a little tiny podcast. That was kind of neat. That was and he's still doing Savage Dragon. Have you read Savage Dragon lately?
I have not.
I really like it, except he, like, every episode, he throws in, like, gratuitous sex scenes.
Yeah. It's just like when James Robinson drank that on the show.
I do remember that. Yeah.
I remember that.
He signed it. Sal brought me this from Traverse City. It's a bottle of Guinness with a Punisher sketch on it.
Who did that
Steve
sketch?
Dillon.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
because I'm a good fucking friend.
You are a good fucking friend.
Thanks. All right. Is that all we got for today? Is that all we have for this episode?
We're looking at empty bottles now. So
we're looking at empty bottles of booze.
I think we've run out of things to fucking talk about. God damn it!
So our next episode is going to be Tom doing the Steve Englehart JLA.
Is that
maybe? We'll see if it's during the week. We'll see what happens.
When's our next episode? Tuesday? Thursday?
Tuesday? Yeah.
Tuesday.
Tom?
Can you do Tuesday?
Today's already Sunday.
It is Sunday.
You got Monday off.
Maybe.
You have a couple days, Tom.
Maybe.
All right.
We'll see.
Be in touch.
We'll be in touch.
Thursday.
And then Comics Legend to be determined.
I gotta email him. He gave me his email address.
Nice.
I was giddy like a child.
That'll be fun. So think some questions there.
You guys are gonna have to carry water on that because I'm going to be like a 12-year-old girl.
I'm gonna have to carry water on that.
Yeah, because I'm a child. I'll be like a little child.
You're the one. He's your guy.
Like, do you remember when you did this? Do you remember drawing that? This is cool.
I will be Chris Farley.
Remember the time when you blew my mind as a 12-year-old?
That was cool. I will be Chris Farley all over. Yeah.
Oh, jeez. I'm going to have to research this one, aren't I?
Well, I'll be all right. I mean, let's be honest.
I'm just going to talk about Blade.
Jesus Christ. Don't embarrass me. Don't embarrass me in front of him.
Don't fucking embarrass Sal in front of his hero.
I've been embarrassing Sal for 15 years now.
Pull it together, all right?
Get your shit together, Niesman. God damn it. Hey,
I'm not even drinking to excess anymore.
no, I am.
All right, so we ran down how to contact the show. Tom's
Yes.
going to come back with his comic book 101. You know what? I'm going to throw it out there just because Sal's going to be pissy about it. If you've got some subjects out there that you'd like us to do a comics 101, email the show at info@aroundcomics.com.
All right.
I'll even take the first one and research it myself.
Son of a bitch.
Hard
Tom's
pass.
just shaking
I'm not taking any of your suggestions.
I will take that.
Yeah, I get enough requests from everyone in my life. I don't need another source of random.
Some anonymous shitbag giving me fucking suggestions on what to do.
Sal's telling me I need to record her on the show.
Yeah.
I'll take that one.
Not doing that.
Send me your request for a comic book 101. If there's something you want to know more about, I will give you as much information as Wikipedia will give me.
We will fuck up as much comics history as possible.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, is that all we got?
I think that's enough.
All right, big thanks to Christina Merkler from DCBS, InStockTrades.com. Is it Lunar Distributing?
Lunar
Distributing. The Comic Book Legal Defense Fund. All the stuff that she's got going on. So appreciate her dropping by. Tom, it's good to see you. I'm glad that your basement is no longer flooded.
I'm very happy about that as well.
Do you have a
dehumidifier
running?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you got to have the dehu.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah. So I painted the downstairs of my house, so we're to that point of isolation. Sal's building stairs.
Yeah.
It's
barn
crazy.
doors.
But, so we'll be back with Tom's Comics 101. We got a special guest coming up that you should be able to guess at this point. And in the meantime,
in between time,
we'll be everywhere in
and around comics.
Cue the music.
Hold on. Why isn't it working?
Press the button.
It's not working.
Come on. Press the button, Sal.
It didn't work.
You can do it. Come on.
Hold on a goddamn minute. Something's wrong.
Come on.
All right.
Oh, shit.
What?
I don't know.
I did a remix of the remix, and it didn't work.
It's a double remix.
I can't get this right. I give up. I don't know what to do. There it is. I'm a failure.
Well, not a failure. It's a little slow. You're a little stunted.
All right. I'll talk to you guys later.
Bye, Thomas. It's good to see you.
Comics. Comics.
And we're out.